Growing up as a Sigma male in a world that neither recognizes nor values your unique personality often feels like being dropped into a sprawling, intricate maze with a blindfold on, while everyone else is handed a detailed map and a compass. From an early age, you sense that something about your way of moving through life is different. You notice how others seem to glide through social interactions, picking up cues and rhythms that feel foreign to you. What energizes them? Constant chatter, group activities, and visible displays of connection often leaves you feeling drained and disconnected. You spend years silently wrestling with questions you can't quite put into words. Why do I feel out of step with the rest of the world? Why does my natural pace, my need for solitude, and my preference for independence get misunderstood or even judged? In a culture that openly celebrates alpha males for their charisma, dominance, and leadership, and encourages beta males for their cooperative spirit and ability to maintain social harmony, Sigma males exist in a quieter, more shadowed lane. They stand apart, not because they are incapable of fitting in, but because their nature compels them towards self-reliance, introspection, and a deep disinterest in the usual markers of social validation. They are the lone wolves, not seeking to lead the pack or follow it, but to walk their own path entirely. Yet, because this personality type is rarely acknowledged in mainstream narratives, young Sigmas often grow up without a clear reflection of themselves in the world around them. They spend precious years trying to squeeze into roles that feel like ill-fitting clothes, molding themselves into shape society tells them they should be, all the while feeling the silent friction of living against their true nature. If you could step back through the years and place a hand on your younger self's shoulder, what would you say? Would you tell him that solitude is not a flaw, but a strength? Would you reassure him that not craving the spotlight doesn't make him invisible, but rather gives him the freedom to move unseen and unbound? Would you explain that there is no need to mimic the energy of others when his own quiet force is powerful enough to shape his life on his terms? This is a guide that every young Sigma male deserves, a map for the maze they never asked to navigate. It's not a blueprint for becoming something else, but an invitation to understand, accept, and fully inhabit who they already are. A deep, unfiltered dive into what it means to live as one of the rarest and most misunderstood personality types in the modern world. 1. Stop explaining yourself. Most people won't understand. From the moment you step outside the narrow lanes of society's expectations, you start to realize just how deeply human beings are wired to categorize. The brain craves simplicity. It wants to label and place everything into neat, understandable boxes. People, behaviors, social roles, all must be slotted somewhere. But when you, as a Sigma male, show up with an independent spirit, a self-directed way of thinking, and a quiet refusal to bow to social hierarchies, you don't fit any of the boxes. You're neither the commanding, spotlight-seeking alpha, nor the accommodating, group-oriented beta. You exist outside the hierarchy entirely, and that alone creates discomfort for those who depend on these structures to navigate life. As a result, you've probably spent much of your life feeling as though you needed to explain yourself. Why you don't chase popularity, why solitude doesn't bother you, why you refuse to adopt someone else's blueprint for living. From childhood into adulthood, this pressure to justify your natural way of being becomes exhausting. Every attempt to explain feels like translating an unfamiliar language into one that still won't be understood by most. The truth, perhaps a harsh one, is that most people aren't really interested in understanding you. They don't want to see the world through your lens. They want you to conform to theirs. Your independence forces them to reflect on their own dependency on group approval and validation, and that's an uncomfortable mirror to face. This is why the healthiest choice you can make is to stop explaining altogether. When you live unapologetically according to your values, you automatically filter out those who were never meant to walk beside you. Your energy is a limited and precious resource. Spending it trying to convince people that your independence isn't a flaw is like pouring water into a bucket with a hole in it. Instead, let your life speak for itself. Act on your convictions without offering disclaimers. The right people, the rare ones who resonate with your nature, will never need you to justify who you are. 2. Solitude is your superpower. Embrace it. Modern society treats being alone as if it were an illness to be cured. The cultural narrative insists that constant social interaction is the measure of a healthy life. Extroversion is celebrated in movies, business, and media, while introversion, particularly the kind found in Sigmas, is often seen as antisocial, awkward, or even suspect. But for you, solitude is not a void to be filled. It's the rich, fertile soil where your mind and spirit thrive. Alone time isn't isolation, it's restoration. You have no interest in filling your schedule with shallow interactions just to keep loneliness at bay. That's because you see through inauthenticity almost instantly. It's not a skill you learned, it's something hardwired into you. This ability to read between the lines and detect unspoken motives makes you immune to the charm performative friendships, but it also means small talk and forced mingling feel unbearably hollow. When others cling to relationships for the sake of convenience or appearances, you'd rather step away and protect your peace. Your selective approach to relationships allows you to cultivate the kind of solitude that most people fear. Alone, you can think with clarity, free from the static of outside opinions. You can dive deeply into your passions without interruptions pulling you to the surface. You can reinforce your self-reliance so that your sense of worth is never dictated by another person's approval. This isn't loneliness, it's empowerment. While others scramble to avoid silence, you know it is in silence that your best ideas, sharpest insights, and truest self are found. 3. Cut off energy vampires immediately. Every Sigma male understands that social energy is finite. You don't have an endless supply of it. And unlike alphas who seem to draw power from constant engagement or betas who keep the peace by tolerating draining people, you are deliberate about where you invest it. This means toxic individuals, those who thrive on drama, manipulate others, or constantly complain, are more than just unpleasant to you. They are dangerous to your well-being. Your intuition picks up on their subtle manipulations, and because you feel energy on a deeper level, the drain happens faster. One of the clearest red flags is when someone mocks your vision. Sigmas often see potential where others see impossibility. You think independently, outside the boundaries of conventional thinking. So when someone ridicules your goals or tries to plant seeds of doubt, it's not simply criticism. It's an attempt to diminish the very core of what makes you you. More often than not, these people feel threatened by your self-assurance because it highlights their own dependence on the crowd's approval. Your response to such individuals is simple but powerful. You walk away. There's no point in engaging in power struggles or trying to win them over. Unlike the alpha, you're not interested in proving dominance. And unlike the beta, you won't keep toxic people close for the sake of harmony. Your mental and emotional space is sacred. Once someone repeatedly shows that they drain you or undermine you, you sever the connection without ceremony. In doing so, you ensure that your energy remains available for the people and pursuits that truly matter. 4. Never beg for respect. Earn it by being unapologetically you. One of the earliest traps young Sigma males often fall into is the silent, creeping habit of people-pleasing. It's not always obvious at first. You may tell yourself you're just being polite, accommodating, or keeping the peace. But beneath that surface behavior, there's a subtle hunger for approval. In the beginning, you might think that the way to earn respect is by stacking up visible achievements, going out of your way to be likable, or proving your worth through hard work in the eyes of others. Yet, this approach is deeply flawed. The moment you chase external validation, you start undermining your greatest strength, your self-sufficiency. The more you depend on others' recognition, the more power you hand over to them, allowing their opinions to dictate your sense of value. True respect, especially for a Sigma, is not something you extract from people by persuasion or appeasement. It's something you radiate by living authentically. When you stop bending and reshaping yourself to fit into molds that were never meant for you, an interesting thing happens. People who are misaligned with your values naturally drift away. There is no dramatic conflict, no fiery confrontation, just a quiet filtering process. And what remains are those rare individuals who respect you precisely because you didn't compromise yourself to gain their approval. These are the ones worth keeping close, because their respect is grounded in truth, not performance. At the heart of this shift is a deep commitment to internal validation. Your worth is not measured in applause, compliments, or public acknowledgement. It's measured by the alignment between your actions and your principles. Sigmas thrive when they trust their own judgment, when they choose to be guided by their inner compass rather than the ever-changing winds of public opinion. And ironically, The less you seek validation, the more of it you seem to command. People can sense the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't need to be liked, and that in itself is magnetic. 5. Silence is your greatest weapon. Use it strategically. The world rarely knows what to do with silence. In a culture where constant talking is equated with confidence, and filling the air with words is seen as proof of intelligence or charm, silence is often misinterpreted. People may mistake your quietness for shyness, insecurity, or disinterest. But for a Sigma male, silence is far from passive. It's an active state of awareness. It's the deliberate choice to observe, to listen, and process information deeply before deciding whether words are even necessary. Your quiet nature gives you a psychological advantage that most overlook. Silence creates space, and in that space, people tend to reveal more than they intend. The discomfort others feel in the absence of sound often pushes them to fill it, blurting out truths, secrets, or slips of thought they might have otherwise guarded. By holding your ground in these pauses, you not only conserve your own energy but also gain valuable insight. Strategic silence also safeguards you from the impulsiveness that traps many people in regret. When you resist the urge to respond immediately, you avoid saying things you don't truly mean or making promises you can't keep. Instead, when you do decide to speak, your words carry weight. In negotiations, conflicts, or any power dynamic, this restraint becomes a formidable tool. Most people rush to fill the void. You, however, understand that power lies in letting the void do the work for you. Silence in your hands is not emptiness, it's leverage. 6. Trust your gut. It's smarter than the crowd. For a Sigma male, intuition is not some mystical gift. It's a natural byproduct of years spent observing quietly, thinking independently, and paying attention to patterns others overlook. While most people rely heavily on the opinions of friends, trends, or so-called experts, your mind is constantly collecting subtle details, storing them, and making connections. Over time, this pattern recognition becomes instinctual. You don't always know why something feels off, but you sense it with clarity and certainty. This independence of thought also makes you a prime target for manipulation. The crowd, whether in a corporate setting, social group, or public discourse, often exerts pressure to conform, sometimes through fear, sometimes with the lure of belonging. They may wrap it in persuasive reasoning or popular sentiment. But your gut instinct is usually faster at detecting the hidden motives behind it. You've learned that just because a decision is popular doesn't mean it's right. And just because it's unpopular doesn't mean it's wrong. There are moments in life where pure logic falters, where the facts on paper seem solid, but something deep inside you whispers a warning. In these moments, your gut is your most reliable guide. It absorbs nuances that logic alone cannot measure. The tension in a voice, the slight hesitation before an answer, the patterns of behavior that hint at an underlying truth. When that instinct tells you something is wrong, it usually is, even if you can't yet explain in words. For a Sigma, trusting his internal compass is not just wise, it's essential for survival in a world that thrives on steering the masses in directions that serve the few. 7. Your path won't be popular, but it will be legendary. From the very start, you'll notice that the path calling to you doesn't run parallel to the one most people take. The world is structured to reward those who follow its blueprint. Secure a stable job, climb the social ladder, seek validation through recognition and status. For the majority, this formula feels safe, achievable, and acceptable. But for a Sigma male, it feels like a cage. You're not wired for the repetition and predictability that conformity demands. Your ambitions often arise from a deeper place, one that values originality, freedom, and the pursuit of meaning over the appearance of success. And because your goals don't always match the conventional definition of achievement, they'll often seem strange, impractical, or even foolish to those around you. This unconventional nature comes at a cost. In your early years especially, you'll encounter skepticism, not because your dreams are unworthy, but because they're invisible to the people who only know how to walk a straight, well-marked road. They'll project their own limitations onto you, questioning not just your choices, but your ability to follow through. You'll hear the same familiar lines. That's not realistic. No one's done that before. Why don't you just stick to something safer? But remember, every person who ever left a mark on history, every innovator, every visionary, was once dismissed as unrealistic. Their very refusal to accept how things are was the force that created something entirely new. The reward for enduring this early misunderstanding is extraordinary. When you stay true to your principles despite the noise, when you persist in the face of raised eyebrows and whispered doubts, you eventually outlast the skepticism. What was once seen as reckless becomes admirable. What was once dismissed becomes proof of your foresight and resilience. Legendary success is never built on the approval of the crowd. It's built on a kind of stubborn authenticity that refuses to bend just to fit in. In the end, you must accept a truth that will liberate you. The world may never fully understand you, and that's not your responsibility to fix. Your strength lies in the very qualities that make you difficult to categorize. Your independence, your depth, your refusal to compromise what matters most. Protect your energy from those who drain it. Trust the quiet instincts that have guided you this far, and walk away from anything that pulls you away from your purpose. The most powerful life you can live is one that is unapologetically, unshakably yours. Do these ideas resonate with you? If you found yourself nodding along or reflecting deeply on the traits and experiences we explored in this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts. The Sigma male mindset isn't often talked about openly, and your perspective, whether you identify with it personally or have encountered it in others, adds valuable depth to the conversation. Drop a comment below and let me know. Which part hit home the most for you? Have you seen these traits in yourself or someone you know? Your insights help build a community where authenticity and growth are prioritized over popularity and performance. If you're drawn to this kind of introspective, no-nonsense content around Sigma males, psychological strength, emotional intelligence, and high-value living, there's more waiting for you. Explore the other videos on this channel for deeper dives, actionable insights, and raw truths that cut through the noise. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay sharp, stay grounded, and stay unapologetically real. Until next time.